Some call it urban renewal, others say it destroys communities. Joining us now for 10 questions on gentrification, here's renowned urbanist Richard Florida, author most recently of The New Urban Crisis: How Our Cities Are Increasing Inequality, Deepening Segregation, and Failing the Middle Class, and What We Can Do About It. Richard, here we go. 10 questions. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Question one. Where does the term gentrification come from?
It comes from a British scholar named Ruth Glass, writing in the early 1960s about the movement of the real gentry, the British upper class, back to London in that time frame.
Question two. When did gentrification become an issue in North American cities?
Well, I think it's been an issue in North American cities roughly since the 70s or 80s. Hard to pin when it really makes its entrance into the literature. But for sure, it becomes a big issue between 2000 and now as the urban revival has really picked up steam.
Question three, who are the gentrifiers?
Well, the gentrifiers now, because we have the data, my colleague Nate Baum-Snow at the University of Toronto has it, the young, the affluent, the ambitious, and the talented really are the people coming back to urban areas en masse.
Question four, is it true that gentrification displaces lower income residents?
Not really. And there's a great scholar, Lance Freeman at Columbia, who has shown that the effect of displacement, especially on homeowners, is quite nil. Renters a little more so. The big effect comes from rising housing prices that affect the lower and working class people.
Question five, is there a racial component to gentrification?
Yes, there is. And it's really one of the biggest things. Rob Sampson, the great sociologist at Harvard, has figured this out. If a neighborhood is working class white in the city, it tends to gentrify. If a neighborhood, especially in the United States, is black or African American, 45%, gentrification doesn't happen. Tragically, those neighborhoods stay poor and disadvantaged.
Question six, is gentrification only a problem for big and growing cities such as New York, LA, Toronto, Chicago?
Generally speaking, that has been the case. It has been most noticeable in Toronto, London, New York, San Francisco, Boston, and DC. But recently, very recently, in the past 10 to 15 years, or maybe the past 5 years, we've seen urban revival in Cleveland, in Pittsburgh, even in a place like Detroit. And that's causing some backlash as affluent white people move in and local African-American people feel higher housing prices.
Question seven. Is gentrification the right focus for what's gone wrong in some cities?
No, it is too emotionally heated and takes our attention from the real problem, which is the decline of the middle-class neighborhood and the fracturing of our urban areas into small areas of concentrated advantage. By the way, not just in the urban center. Our richest neighborhoods are many still in the suburbs, and much larger spans of concentrated disadvantage in our disadvantaged areas in the cities, but pushing out in the suburbs as well.
Question eight, what are the first signs of gentrification?
The creative class. No, just kidding. The first signs are really new public investment in anything from schools to parks to transit, which then pulls in knowledge workers and young people in the creative class. But the signal is, do you see some large-scale investment happening in an area?
Question nine is going to be true or false. Here's the quote. Gentrification eventually cannibalizes the coolness and authenticity of a neighborhood that attracted people to it in the first place, leaving a boring, commercialized space behind. True or false?
True and false. True to the extent that it really can deaden certain neighborhoods. As Jane Jacobs told me when I asked her the same question, she said, Richard, when a place gets boring, even the rich people leave. A great Jane Jacobs quote. But generally speaking, in our big cities, like Toronto, like New York, like London, there are enough neighborhoods still left that creative impetus can shift.
Question 10. Can you stop or soften the process of gentrification?
I'm not sure you can stop gentrification. I think the market forces, you can try to limit it. The better solution is to try to create more affordable housing, to build more transit, to make the city overall more affordable, to create that, keep the innovative dynamic going, but include more people in it.
How about a bonus question? Are you, Richard Florida, a gentrifier?
I think I am. I think that most of us who have moved back into the urban center would be considered to be gentrifiers. But look, what we're doing is all of us competing for a very limited amount of very valuable space. We have to build more. We have to make our cities denser. We need transit so that more people can be included in the urban revival.
That's Richard Florida, whose latest book is called The New Urban Crisis. Richard, thanks for this.
It's great being with you.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit TVO.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.